Following up on my video about a grown adult who doesn't understand video games, there seems to be more and more people since then who also don't understand how video games work. And that's bad itself, because if you still don't know how video games work, you're probably a boomer who doesn't even have a mobile phone, and if you happen to actually have one, it's probably a massive Nokia brick. But the example that I got for you here today is even worse, because not only is this guy actually in the gaming industry itself, but he's actually in a high position of power, and he himself doesn't know how the industry works. Now let's do a little background check on our main protagonist for today's story, and let's just see, peeling back the curtains, who we are dealing with here. It's our main man, Mr. Alex Hutchinson, creative director at SG&E Montreal Studio, previously Journey to the Savage Planet, Far Cry 4, Assassin's Creed 3, Spore, Sims 2, etc. All opinions are my own. So our first takeaway from this little bio, this little synopsis of Mr. Hutchinson, is that he's actually high up and has relative importance. He's worked on massive AAA games like Far Cry 4, Assassin's Creed 3, and has also the likes of Spore and Sims 2 under his belt, so he knows what he's doing. And as a result of that, you think he'd have a decent understanding of the video game industry, seeing as he's worked on some of the biggest projects of the past decade or so. Yeah, about that, you are wrong. We know picking a fight with gamers isn't necessarily the smartest or correct thing to do with your time, because it really is a fate worse than death, and you would think someone like Mr. Hutchinson, who is in the gaming industry and does have power, would know that by now, but no, he decided to go on Twitter and stir up the pot. He says, streamers worried about getting their content pulled because they use music they didn't pay for should be more worried by the fact that they're streaming games they didn't pay for as well. It's all gone as soon as publishers decide to enforce it, and he follows that up with another tweet. The truth is, the streamers should be paying the developers and publishers of the game they stream. They should be buying a license like any real business and paying for the content they use. And before we decide to roast this guy, because he does deserve to be roast, just look at his quote tweets. 17.5k quote tweets. You know he's just getting absolutely roasted every single time someone's quote tweeting this, and rightly so. Now this is an opinion that would have swarmed the internet in 2010, and I don't understand how someone could believe this in 2020, particularly someone who works at Google. His statement is flat out wrong, because he says streamers didn't pay for the game that they're streaming and they're making money off of it, which just makes no sense, because of course they paid for it. Unless it's free, then of course they don't have to pay. But what annoys me the most about this take is that he thinks that this is all going to be gone if publishers decide to enforce this on streamers and content creators. But that would just be shooting themselves in the foot, and the reason why they don't do it is because their product would be completely dead before it even comes out, and this has happened in the past, and it's already happened before, and it didn't work then. Because if you were a gaming channel back then on YouTube, you literally couldn't even post gaming videos and upload it to the site, and if you could, you definitely were not getting paid to do so. The only way you could make money from making gaming YouTube videos is to join a multi-channel network, and the main one being at that time was Machinima, and we all know how that turned out when they would fuck you in the ass and squeeze every single last penny out of you. The reason being is because game developers didn't want people to be using their product and making money off of it, so they just completely banned it and just said, fuck you, you can't do this. And one of the main reasons why you couldn't even get paid to be a gaming channel on YouTube was because there was no channel category to say gaming. There was stuff like beauty, technology, information, that sort of stuff, but there was nothing to do with gaming on there. Now I'm not a fucking idiot, I didn't fail English, and I know he's particularly just talking about streamers, but the same applies to YouTubers and streamers as well. He says streamers should be buying a license key like any real business so they can get paid for making content about that game. Newsflash buddy, they do. It's called buying the actual game. And unsurprisingly, you do see a bunch of fucking idiots come out the floodgates, finally rise from the gutter to come and defend this guy, and it's no surprise that they are also verified. Why is everyone on Twitter that's got an absolutely dogshit opinion all back each other up and are all verified? It just doesn't make sense. He says props to Alex Hutchinson for having the balls to have an opinion these days, like he's some absolute social justice warrior coming out and standing up against the public for having an absolute hot take that should be common knowledge in society nowadays. He's doing the world a favour, he's standing up to injustice. He's not like some white knight in shining armour coming to save the day. No, he's just got a fucking shitty opinion, and everyone knows it apart from people who are like this guy, who are verified and actually are in the industry, which is a scary thing. The replies go as expected, but think about it for a second. You can't stream music for free, you can't stream movies, but somehow it's okay for games? Why? Anybody that has a little bit of common sense can see the vast difference between the examples that you've given, because when you buy a game, you actually own the product, you own the game, but when you stream music or watch a movie, you don't own it, you're just paying for the experience or paying for a service. And it also doesn't make sense with his examples, because there's always a workaround. You can illegally download music, you can illegally stream movies, and you you can pirate games, so you can get them for free. It's just that if you wanted to actually nip this problem in the bud, you'd go to those websites and take them down for stealing your product for free. And it also baffles me at why these guys target the consumers when they should be going after third parties, like I said, with illegally pirated websites. This isn't even a big problem, but if you really think it is, then go after third party websites where you can illegally pirate games. Don't go after the consumer, because if you do, they're just going to stop buying your products. Simple as. That's business 101, you fucking idiot. But don't worry, the Twitter pitchfork mob came out to roast this guy as well, but Alex Hutchinson decided to come back in and defend his verified little buddy, because the people who make games need them to be streamed. They could stop streaming overnight if they actually want to which Mr. Hutchinson says we also sold plenty of them before streaming existed. Bro, if you really felt that way, you could actually try and stop the problem. You actually work for Google. You have the power to try and do that. It may shock you to find out that this guy does in fact work for Google. He works on the Google Stadia team, which tells you everything really, doesn't it, with the shit show and dumpster fire that Stadia is. It doesn't make sense how short-sighted these guys are. Remember all those Google Stadia ads you'd get on YouTube? Do you really think the people in those adverts went to Google themselves and paid them in order to promote Stadia? Of course they didn't. Stadia went to them in order to pay them to promote their product. I couldn't find the actual advert to show you, but I know Vicstar was in it, and if you just go into one of his videos where he's talking about Stadia, it literally says, "Thanks to Google for sponsoring this video and letting me try Stadia." Stadia paid him, he didn't pay Stadia, and this guy even works for Stadia. It's what I've been saying this whole time. This guy doesn't even know the industry that he works in, and what's even worse, he doesn't even know about the product that he's on, Stadia. He doesn't know how it works and how advertising works. And just a quick Google search of Alex Hutchinson shows us the top news stories about him saying that streamers should be paying the developers for streaming that game, and less than 12 hours later Google started to distance himself from Alex Hutchinson himself. Good job, Alex Hutchinson, you fucked yourself in the ass there. And there's more of Mr. Hutchinson being a complete fucking idiot in this tweet as well. Are we talking about a special license or just buying the game? Paying your game helps devs, and so is streaming has been essential to lots of smaller game studios to be visible in an otherwise ocean of release. Which is completely true, and is especially true with smaller games like Fall Guys and Among Us. People streaming that game and making YouTube videos on that game blew it up to what it is now. And the thing is, you don't even have to necessarily pay streamers or YouTubers to actually promote your game. Just look at Minecraft. Minecraft is the golden example of how people playing and streaming your game can help it grow, and you can bet that in the early stages they didn't pay anyone. Minecraft was crowdfunded. It was at the start only made by one person, and that was Notch, and people started playing the game and uploading YouTube videos of it because they just loved the game when it was in beta and wanted to spread the word of how good this game is. If people didn't stream Minecraft, if people didn't make YouTube videos on Minecraft, you can guarantee it won't even be as big as it is today, or it might not even took off in the first place. But before we jump to conclusions, let's see what Alex Hutchinson has to say on the matter. Most of the time, playing the game just helps the streamer. People tune in to watch their show, which is built on content they didn't pay for. If their show requires game content, then a percentage of their revenue should go to the game they used. Like, how fucking dumb are you? How do you honestly believe this? Sit there with a straight face typing this out. You can't be a troll. You're verified. There's no way that you are trolling, man. It's common sense that when people tune in to watch a show of a content creator, they are already big. They're already a big streamer. They already pull in tens of thousands of viewers. It's the smaller channels which aren't shows. I don't think he understands that when people watch streams, they're watching the person, they're watching the personality. The game is secondary. Unless they are very good at the game, they're coming for the streamer rather than the game that they're actually streaming. And if they're streaming the game, they paid for it. They're not going to pirate it or illegally download it. Unless it's free, they did pay for it. But I do understand where he's coming from on a basic standpoint, on a base level, when he's saying that if you do make profit off of a game, then the developers should be owed a percentage. I don't agree with it, but I can understand where he's coming from. But like I said earlier, a game is a product. If they buy the game for $60, they now have the game itself. And when they stream it, their stream viewers aren't playing the game. They're only watching it. If they want to play the game, they can buy it. It's free advertising, really. If some streamer buys a game for $60 and streams it to 50,000 people aren't not playing it. It's only one. They are just watching someone play it. It's not like you're taking away 50,000 potential customers. And what makes it even worse, 2 days before Alex Hutchinson put out this absolute dog shit tweet, Stadia themselves was doing some advertising and getting streamers involved on their product. They got 2 streamers or YouTubers to help them release stuff for Stadia, and they started doing it by Pac-Man. And Mr. Alex Hutchinson said himself that it's more cool stuff. Do you think these people did it for free? Of course not. Stadia paid them to get them involved with the product, and he doesn't even realize this. And at the end of all of it, he's finally had enough and he decided to post some shitty memes saying he's gonna hop on and stream some Fall Guys. Who's up for it? Now this leads me to believe it is a troll, but I very much doubt it is, because how can you be so blind to see your hypocrisy? I can guarantee you that when he does stream Fall Guys, not only is there going to be no viewers because no one knows who this guy is, but also he didn't pay a special license to stream it, did he? He's not going to be paying Fall Guys a percentage of what he earns. He's probably sat there stroking his own dick thinking he's got gamers on strings and everything he does is people just going to get mad at him. He thinks he's the highest, he thinks he has everyone in his own ball game when he clearly isn't. He's just a fucking idiot with a stupid opinion. And the more and more time I spend on Twitter, the more I realise that every day on Twitter there is indeed a main character and the goal is to not be it. And for October the 22nd, that was the Google Stadia employee Alex Hutchinson. So yeah, that's my take on the situation. Shock horror, someone involved in video games doesn't even know how their own industry works. And as an extension for that, they don't even know how their own product works. Just makes it even fucking worse and explains why Google Stadia has failed, doesn't it? But if you're a Google Stadia fanboy, remember to dislike the video and comment down below why you did so. But if you enjoyed, remember to like the video and subscribe if you want to see videos similar to this one. I'll see you next time.